are here who are joining us from time zones in the future. We appreciate you staying up late to speak to us. Unfortunately, Anna isn't joining us today. We're hoping everything is fine with her and she's just very busy with her organisation. I am going to give you a little bit of information about Anna's organisation and what they do, just because it's a bit different to Katerina and Nikita's activities. But yeah, so we're enjoying the presence of Katerina and Nikita today. I'm going to speak super briefly to introduce myself and our topic this evening, and then I'm going to hand it straight over because we're all here to listen to Nikita and Katerina and not to me. So I'm Emma Mateo, most of you know that already. I'm the Petra Yatsik Doctoral Fellow in Ukrainian Studies here at Columbia. And this event has been inspired by the class that I've been teaching this semester. Most of the people in the room are my class. I can't claim to have drawn this much attendance all by myself. And we've been learning about Ukrainian activism and protests this semester. And I wanted to give the class an opportunity to speak to some volunteers and activists who are engaged in important work in Ukraine right now. And then we decided to open up the panel so more people can engage in this important conversation. This is a really important topic. My class know this already, but recent research by Olga Onuch and the rest of the team at the Mobilize project has indicated that some 80% of the Ukrainian population is engaged in the war effort in some way, with around 43% taking part in some form of volunteering. Not all of these people are engaged to the extent that our guests today are, who are really involved, but nonetheless, this Ukrainian civic mobilization remains a really important aspect of Ukrainian resistance to Russian invasion. And moreover, a report by the United Kingdom Humanitarian Innovations Hub last summer, indicated that in the initial months of the full-scale invasion, it was Ukrainian organizations and grassroots groups were providing the overwhelming majority of humanitarian support in the country, despite receiving less than 0.001% of international and humanitarian funding that had been donated to the crisis at that time. So Ukraine's domestic grassroots response to the war is incredibly efficient and targeted, as you'll hear today, hopefully. But this isn't an event really for statistics and academic research. We're going to hear firsthand from our Ukrainian guests who are or have been engaged in some of these efforts on the ground. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over to them. So I'm going to begin by asking both of you to speak for about 5 minutes or so. You can go a bit longer, seeing as there's only the two of you, about your organization and your work. I'll introduce you first, and then I will ask a few questions following your little talk, and then we will open it up for questions from the people here and also the people online. Okay, so first we're going to hear from Katernya Arisoy. I hope I said your name correctly, Katya. She is a volunteer with the NGO Bakhmut Ukrainian and founder of the NGO Pluriton, which provides humanitarian assistance to people and animals impacted by the war. After the full-scale invasion, her team evacuated animals from the front lines and provided humanitarian assistance to people under shelling or in war-torn cities, liberated war-torn cities. Katerina's current projects include the development of a rehabilitation center for animals in Dnipro, which will also provide animal therapy for people impacted by the war. She's also working on a support center in Sumy Oblast, which is in the north of Ukraine, for people returning from the occupied territories. She has worked with several organizations on projects, including Brazom and Nova Ukraine, who some of you in the room might be familiar with. And Katerina has been helping the army and refugees and saving animals for 8 years. So starting in 2014, Bakhmut was 30 kilometers from the front line. And people there lived under occupation for 2 months before Bakhmut was independent again. Katerina hoped that Bakhmut had already experienced the worst, but instead, on February 24th, 2022, everything that she and her colleagues had spent years creating was destroyed, and NGO activists from Bakhmut are now based in Dnipro and throughout Ukraine, as Bakhmut is currently under occupation. Please take it away, Katya.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for attention to Ukrainian situation, different, and also situation about volunteers. By the way, today is the day, actually for you is today, for us is yesterday, is a day of volunteering.
Oh, that was great. I should have known about that coincidence.
Yes. So,
Do you want to speak for a few minutes, Katya, about your work and your organisation, what you've been doing over the last couple of years?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. I can speak. Also, you described in a few sentences shortly the main things about our organizations. Only I want to mention that my hometown is Bakhmut. So the full-scale invasion began 24th of February, but for us it was since 2014, and since those time we lived 30 kilometers near the front line, and all war challenges, they were very, very actual for us. Also, my volunteer activities began since 2011, when me and my friends, we launched a shelter for animals. And since 2014, the situation with abandoned animals became very horrible, because many people left region, not only Bakhmut, they lived very, very close to us towns and cities, and many abandoned animals were coming to our Bakhmut because of shelling and because of occupation. So the 24th of February last year, it was like a shock for us, but we were we already used to live in such conditions. Only we hoped much that we passed through the worst period, through the worst years. And since 24th of February, there were new challenges, new very hard, even I don't know how to find a suitable word to explain that. Many people became internal, sorry. Yes, internal displaced people. So they needed help. We were helping to army, also animals, and our team were busy about evacuating people from the front line. During this time, we've been evacuating something like more than 1,000 people, and more than 1,000 animals were evacuated by our team. And also we were moving on the front line under shelling, and 3 people from our team were captured by Russians, and they were imprisoned for a few months. So now we are very happy that they are free, they are home, they're back home, but we have such experience too. And now we opened a humanitarian support center for people who are coming back from occupation and who were forcibly deported to Russia. And also we are supporting and helping our people to return, to come back to Ukraine. So this is our routine challenges for every day. Also, we build a rehabilitation center near Dnipro. This center will be not only for animals, also for people, and animals will be like in therapeutes. We will use such a component like animal therapy. And now there is such a situation that many people, as you mentioned, became volunteers, and now Ukrainians are very united, because we feel, we understand, and it's very clear to understand that only by uniting we will win, and this uniting will it helps us to stand against all cruelty, all scares of the war, and also it helps us to react very fast to some challenges such as you know, blackouts and everything what Russia makes. So we feel that our power is in our uniting. Also, we are always very grateful to to people from all over the world who support us, especially to Americans, to the USA. You do really much for us, and it gives us power to stand against, because when you see that you are not alone and you feel support, and the main thing for me is the support of people who, for example, of the war in Ukraine, this is our pain. And this is our horrible life for now. And when people who doesn't like, don't know how to explain, it's night here, by the way. And we very appreciate that when people doesn't live in the war. So, I mean, it is not their pain, but anyway, they're very close to us, and they want as much as they can to support and to help. And this is very precious for us, and we are very, very thankful.
Great, thank you so much, Katerina. That was fascinating, and I definitely have a lot of questions. I'm going to ask Nikita to speak to us for a little bit now, and then we'll have a more general discussion. And so Nikita Grigorov is a Ukrainian writer and journalist. He has published in many Ukrainian and foreign media outlets, literary anthologies, and written scripts for independent films and short plays. Together with Veniamin Veryavsky, he compiled the anthology of Ukrainian writers from Donbass, Poroda, which means breed. He received a scholarship from the Ministry of Culture of Poland, Board Polonia in Literature, as well as a scholarship from the President of Ukraine in the field of literature, the Oles Honchar Literary Prize. Since the beginning of the full-scale war, Nikita has been working as a volunteer in the first volunteer mobile hospital in Ukraine. And his Columbia connection is already established. He is currently writing a book as a Paul Chlebnik resident at the Columbia Global Center in Paris, which is dedicated to his military medical experience and the work of his colleagues, both doctors and volunteers. So Nikita, similar to Katerina, if you could share with us for a few minutes about your experiences and the organizations you've been involved in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your attention. The first mobile hospital named after Mykola Pyrogov is completely non-state organization, this completely volunteering organization, which was established in 2014 during the revolution of dignity, during the Maidan, by famous Ukrainian lawyer, Gennady Druzenko, who unites a lot of interesting people in this hospital. It's not only the doctors, it's interesting Ukrainian artists, lawyers, philosophers, political publicists. So these are just people who want to help our country, who want to defend our country. And all of this time, all these 9 years, yes, from the revolution of dignity to the start of the full-scale invasion, hospital worked in the front line in Donbass, and it's a bit famous in Ukraine, yes. So the main goal of the hospital is evacuation of wounded people and soldiers and civilians from the front line to the stable hospital in the safe land. And the first time of the full-scale invasion, hospital was working just like evacuation, some armored ambulances which just evacuated evacuated some people. But now they have a stable building, big building in Kiev region, and we think that project will go up, and maybe it will become like a stable big hospital. Yes, so this is actual information about it.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll definitely talk more about the hospital because I know it's got some very interesting beginnings as well. Given that Anna Chernova is not here, I just wanted to read a little bit about her organization in case anybody wants to look them up, because she does quite different work. I will share the bios and the details of these organizations in the chat on Zoom as well. I should have done that, but I'm not very good at multitasking. So Anna Chernova is the co-founder and program director at the charitable organization Posmishka, which means smile in Ukrainian, and which supports families and children. Posmishka is based in Zaporizhzhia, which is a city in southern Ukraine, kind of southeast. Posmishka were in operation prior to 2022, the full-scale invasion, but they have significantly scaled up their operations in response. Prior to 2022, they were primarily relying on Ukrainian funds, but their knowledge and desire to operate at international standards has enabled them to successfully seek funding and some collaboration with some international organizations and embark on some joint projects. Posmishka are doing important work supporting families, primarily women and children, displaced by the war. They're providing a wide variety of services and support, ranging from educational and therapeutic activities for children impacted by the war, such as art therapy, to providing psychological support and help with relocating and finding new employment for adults. And they've also been providing support for Ukrainian children who were deported, aka kidnapped by Russian forces, but have been returned to Ukraine. So some overlap there with some of the work that Katernya is doing with people who are returned from Russia. And again, I'll put this information in the chat, and there's some QR codes around in the room for anyone who'd like to find out more. I just want to correct myself. When I was introducing Katernya, I said that Bakhmut was occupied. Bakhmut is not occupied. It is on the front line, and Ukrainian forces are, of course, fighting to keep control of the city. So my apologies for that error. So I'd like to ask you both some questions now to kind of expand what you've been talking about. And I'll start with you, Nikita. Could you tell us a little bit about the origins of the first mobile hospital? Because as far as I understand from speaking to you previously, there was some kind of, there's a connection there with the Revolution of Dignity, the Euromaidan, as some people might know it. Could you tell us a little bit more about how it came about and what it looked like first?
Yes, of course. I met the founder of the hospital, Gennady Duzhenko, only in 2015, but the hospital was established in 2014. So during the revolution, and Gennady Duzhenko worked like a lawyer and like a political advisor in Ukraine. So he took part in the revolution, and when he have seen that there is a lot of wounded people, yes, in Maidan after the start of the shooting in Maidan, he just called his friends because his wife is a doctor. And he has a lot of friends who work like doctors, and they were going to Maidan and started to walk. Just it was like pure anarchy, you know, without any global goal, without anything. And this first team was really strong. They could manage themselves in really power team. So Gennady started to think about how to convert this chaotic power, just will of the people, how to convert it to some kind of institution, yes, some kind of useful instrument in our struggle for freedom. And he created this format of volunteer hospital without any state control, without any really strict obligation, yes, but with a lot of freedom, with a lot of interesting people who can not only work together, but have some interesting conversation to each other for interesting intellectual topics. It may be maybe have some cross ideas, yeah. So it was his idea, and it started to work.
Mhm. And now, obviously, it sounds like things are at a very different scale, with you having a permanent building in Kiev and obviously a lot
In Kiev region, yes. Maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, they started to use some buildings, yes, real buildings of the hospital, because before this it was just some table places in the different parts of Kiev or Kherson Oblast or anywhere.
Okay, that's really interesting. So this is really something that has come out of the revolution of dignity and has evolved over time as needs have shifted. Let me ask you a question now, Katerina. It sounds like you've been engaged in this work in one way or another for also quite a long time, since I think you said 2011 or 12. And now you're engaged in quite a few different projects. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about some of the maybe the other, if you're working with other organizations or groups on some of these projects. Is it similar to what Nikita spoke about, and it's something that's very kind of lots of different people joining, or are there kind of different organizations and groups getting involved now?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very clear. So, the question is not because of technical support.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to repeat?
The question is how we cooperate with another organizations, or
yes, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, as I told before, that Ukrainians are very united now. It is not only, you shouldn't be like a member of the NGO to make something. You can be just a home sitter, and you can prepare something at home. Like, for example, all this winter, our people, not only volunteers, so all people all over Ukraine, they were creating at homes special candles. These candles are homemade, but the soldiers or people hiding in the bomb against bombs underground, they can use this kind of candle to get warm, to get light, and it's just a handmade candle. So you shouldn't be a member of NGO to make some things to make our victory closer. And also our team, our NGO, we are cooperating with another teams and other NGOs, not only Ukrainian, also international. For example, we cooperate with UNICEF, with OCHA. It is United Nations organizations. Also, we were part of a humanitarian convoy. It was last mile delivery to Bakhmut. And since full-scale invasion, many organizations and many just activists, they cooperate, and it means that even you can exchange some things, some items, like we have many volunteer chats in messengers, and you can update and keep updated another people about your needs, or someone needs something, and you can just write in this chat, and this cooperation really looks amazing. For example, people who never seen each other and even doesn't know each other, you just call to someone like those person gave me a number, I need this, and people do really great things by this cooperation. For example, you need to deliver immediately something from 1,000 kilometers, or you need to find something, some items, and someone will give you information, someone will give you, for example, medical kits or any way you need. And if someone has, he will share with you, because for now, our main goal is a victory, and the main goal is stand against what happened. And really, this looks awesome, this cooperation. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great. It was fascinating. And I think that's one of the things that I think is so extraordinary about Ukrainian resistance and the work of Ukrainian society, is this way that everybody works together. And if you can't do something, then someone else is going to figure it out, or they know someone who will. So you explained it really well. Thank you.
Yes, it is really our superpower.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I can see Nikita smiling as well. He probably has experienced things like that. I was wondering, and this is kind of a question for both of you, but I'm just basing this a little bit off something that you said, Katerina. It sounds like that there is Ukrainian organizations are very important, and we know that they've been fantastic in providing aid on the ground, but it sounds like that there is some element of cooperation with some international organizations. And I wondered what this looks like. Is this them using you as, is this them recognizing your role on the ground and kind of cooperating with you? Is this like, what does it look like? Maybe if you start, Katya, and then I don't know if anything like that happens in your experience, Nikita, with what you've been involved in.
Yes, it is exactly like you said, that we can be useful on the ground. For example, if it is an international organization, they have some limits about visiting frontline, and they use such volunteers like we, who goes to the zero point, and we can make some things which they cannot. For example, they give us supplies, and we go and contribute them to people. It can be anything else. For example, we have our organization have a huge cooperation with CIMICs, also like on the ground. So if they need any information, any just a second, I will translate. We are more informed about actual requests from people. For example, I'm very useful for some international organizations because my hometown is Bakhmut, as I mentioned before, and I know something which even another volunteers doesn't know. And I know the situation inside, not only on the ground, and we were going there even until the situation became like now, like horrible. So we are useful for international organizations, even they are in Ukraine, but they can be not updated or not well known about what's happening there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really interesting. What about you, Nikita? Does your organization have any kind of cooperation, or are you very much kind of within operating within yourselves? That's not a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I told the story from my personal experience, because when I worked in the hospital, sometimes I have been like a manager to manage this line. Yes, work with foreign organizations or foreign people, and I send you the link for our website, and we have the list of
Yeah, I put it in the chat actually.
We use, yeah, and the most we have strong relation with this fund Razum for Ukraine, but we have a lot of donations from just simple people, ordinary people from a lot of countries, and I think from America, a lot of simple
Okay,
people
so there's
from
like
America.
sorry.
So,
Carry
but
on.
I'm personal organized some things like some type of group donations for example from the professors of London University, London Imperial College, because one of our volunteers is really famous Ukrainian artist, Oleg Klemenko, or his second name, Olaf Clemenson, the creative name, yeah. He made some conceptual art project about the war in Ukraine. It's named the icons on the military boxes, the boxes from ballet, yes. So it's like art project, and we sell these items, and all the profits we gave to the hospital. Yeah, yeah. This is one of our general lines.
Okay, great. So it sounds like a lot of your financial support comes from some, to a certain extent, people overseas, but more individuals or small groups rather than organizations. And what about you, Katerina, with the organizations you're involved in? Where are your resources coming from? Is the support local? Are you accessing support from international supporters or organizations?
We use different kinds of support. Also, these are our personally, and donations of Ukrainians, local Ukrainians, of Ukrainians which are abroad, and they support us. We have very active followers of our social media page, where we share part of our activities. Also, we have support from USA, from European people, and we are very grateful. So also, as I told before, we have cooperation and projects with Razum for Ukraine, Nova Ukraine, Rotary, and like this. Also, as I mentioned, about cooperation of NGOs in Ukraine. So we all support each other. For example, if we have something which we can share with another one who needs this, it can be anything. It can be animal food, medical kits. It can be something like military items. So that's how this works.
Okay, that's really interesting. I have so many questions. I'm going to ask a couple more, and then I'm going to open it up, because I think it shouldn't just be me who gets to ask you all the questions. Where to start? If this is not too much of a sensitive question, and please feel free to give it a pass, I'm wondering if you could tell us a bit about what motivated you both to become involved in this work and stay involved in this work. I can't even imagine the difficulties that you are facing at the moment in some of the projects you've been involved in. So if you are happy to, could you please share a little bit about your motivations and what your work means to you? Maybe if we start with Nikita, if you're happy to answer this question.
Yeah, of course. So I can do it. For me, the motivation, the main motivation is just the desire to help and to be useful in this very difficult time for your country in action made me very neurotic. Yes, it's really personal reason, and I just started doing something because, as I told, I knew Gennady Guzenko a really long time, and had some common journalistic trips in the front line before the invasion. Yes, and when I was going to the hospital, I knew about this atmosphere, about these people, about the rules. It was not so hard solutions for me, not so hard deal, because I knew all these people, and yeah. So it's not so, it's not so heroic.
So it sounds like you found out about the mobile hospital through your work as a journalist, and then because you already knew the people, it kind of seemed like a natural step to get involved yourself rather than only reporting.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about you, Katerina? What motivated or motivates you in your work?
If you're Ukrainian, to be Ukrainian, you cannot stay aside of what's happening. And also, I live in such conditions more than 9 years since the war began, 2014, and it's my my routine. Sure, it wasn't like this. The most horrible time was since 2014, and we were occupied also in Bakhmut since 2014 until 2016, when there were most active fighting in Donbass. But we didn't live in silence. We didn't live in calm, in silence during all this time. And also, I had the shelter for animals, and since 2011, I was busy with help with rescuing animals. So it is very, very close for me during all this time. And since the full-scale invasion, there were more activities about helping army and people. So when you go to the front line and you see all horrors of the war, you cannot just stay at home and wait until everything will finish, until someone will fight for you, for your life, for your freedom. You cannot just stay aside and watch news or, for example, to go away from Ukraine and wait somewhere in safety places. For me, it's not like this. And also, I'm sure that only by cooperating, by uniting, only this way we will win, because Ukraine is a smaller country. We have we have smaller population, especially now, and the impact of each person is very important. And as I say, now everyone should fight on its own front line. For example, if you should do what you can do the best you can, you should do it. And this is the way. This is the way to stay alive and to win.
Thank you. I suppose, as far as I understand, because you're both from Eastern Ukraine, right? Because you as well, Nikita, you're from Eastern Ukraine. So this is not really something you could turn away from.
Yeah. For me, it's it's really personal from 2014 too, because I'm from Don. So yeah, for me.
The next thing that I wanted to ask you about is, of course, the work that both of you are doing is not without risk, right? And we understand that there are not only physical dangers associated with being close to or working in or near the front lines, but there are also risks in the sense that people who have a very active position in Ukrainian society or volunteer movement, it seems they're often targeted by Russian forces when the areas that they take are occupied. I was wondering, again, don't feel obliged to answer this question because I understand that this can be challenging, but could you talk a little bit about some of the risks and challenges that are associated with taking part in volunteering and activism work in Ukraine at the moment? And maybe for you to start, Nikita, if that's okay.
Oh, it's a very complicated question. For me personal, it wasn't so big dangerous, but of course, some type of dangerous was, because hospital was like a military object in Kiev, and we have been in the big palazzo, which was so Kiev was under bombing every day, every night. It was permanent. So, but for me personally, of course, it's about luck. Yes, it's about your luck. You can't understand where is it dangerous or not sometimes, because even when I was going from my home in Irpin in Kiev, yes, in the start of invasion, it was with my parents, and it was a lot of explosions, a lot of shootings around us, but we didn't understand it. We didn't understand the seriousness of the situation, and only post factum, when I thought about it and thinking about it now, when I write in the book, I understand that it was the final day in which our troops, Ukrainian troops, fighting with Russian troops in Irpin. Yes, it was it was about maybe 7 hours. Yes, 7-8 hours, and we could be under Russian occupation. And I know because Russians hunted on creative people. Yes, hunted to intelligence. They had list, special list with the name, and and it was yeah, I think, yes, it was dangerous.
Thanks for sharing that, Nikita. Your sound is a little bit muffled. I don't know if there's anything you can do to make it a little bit clearer. We can hear you, but it could be a bit sharper. So I don't know if you can do anything about that. Katerina, could you share a little bit about some of the challenges that you and your colleagues are facing in the work that you're doing?
Yes, sure. When you work on the front line, sure, there are many challenges and there are many risks. For example, like our team, during their mission to Lysychansk, they were captured and they stayed present in occupied territory. They were present by Russians, and those was horrible time for them. And finally, they stayed alive, and they could came back home. And also, when you are going to the front line, it is every time this is risk, because there are many explosions. As closer to the front line, there are more shellings, explosions of heavy weapons, and this is our usual situation. When you hear these explosions, you just lay down on the ground. But I don't know how it works, how our brain works, that there is no fear anymore. And also, this is not a new situation for me. We used to, in Bakhmut, we used to live with these sounds, with the shellings, and I remember very clear that in the most horrible time was in 2014 or 2015, sorry, when the front line came very, very close to us, just 30 kilometers near. It was the Baltseva, and we were sure that Bakhmut will be occupied the next step, because we were very close, and we were the next town after Baltseva. And we knew that if you are a Ukrainian activist, if you are patriot, this, I don't know how to call them, they're not soldiers, like these Russians, they will not let you alive. You will be killed, and you will be killed very in very horrible way. And I remember in those times it was really very scary, and we scared much, but we didn't leave Bakhmut because we were helping in a military hospital. There were military hospital in Bakhmut in those time, and every 30 minutes wounded with very, very strong injuries soldiers were brought to this hospital, and they needed our help. There were no such support and help to Donbass in those time like now. Even there were no such information about what really happens. So even we didn't have, I can say we didn't have so strong military, and this, I mean army, and all army, our defenders were volunteers. So they were supported by simple people, by us. So since those time, you just feel like you're tired of get scared, and there is no fear anymore. You just know what you should do, and you just know how to do this to resist something bad can happen. But usually this is just a chance. This is not, you cannot be sure when you go to your humanitarian mission. You are not sure if you will exactly come back.
Thank you very much, both of you, for sharing this. I am going to give the opportunity now for people other than me to ask questions. So both folks online, if you put a question in the chat on YouTube or in the webinar, I should get it, and also people physically here present in the room. I'll maybe start with folks in the room. If anyone has a question, just put your hand up, and yeah, okay, Rowan, go ahead. If you want to introduce yourself as well. Yeah, I mean, you can say your name, and like you can say you're a student here, for example, if you're a student.
Okay. Hi. My name is Rowan. I'm an MA student. When do I stare?
So they'll see you in the camera over there.
That feels really weird. I'm looking at a camera. I'm an MA student at the Harriman Institute. I was specifically studying Ukrainian civil society. It's really great listening to you guys talk. And I had kind of two questions rolled into one, with my first one being, do you think there were more volunteers with NGOs after Euromaidan compared to the Orange Revolution? And my second question being, why do you think that? And if you do think that, like, do you think it was because it was an external factor when it was Euromaidan, and you had the threat of Russia and the invasion of Crimea that followed? Or I just love to hear your thoughts generally.
Yeah. Can you hear the questions in the room? Okay, both of you. I'm also looking.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
Not so good. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just try and briefly repeat, because I think the microphone's closer to me. I have a weird thing that looks like USB stick. So Rowan was asking if you think that there were more volunteers involved in NGOs after Euromaidan, or compared to after the Orange Revolution, and if that's the case, what do you think might be influencing this? So is it to do with external factors like government reform, or is it maybe changing perceptions of the threat of Russia. I think Rowan's interested in this because of your perspectives of people being involved in civil society for a while now. Was that correct, Rowan? Okay. So I think either of you can take this question.
So I can be the first one. Sure, after full-scale invasion, there were a huge activism and a huge wave of people involved. Because we had before sure we had many kinds of volunteers. For example, someone helped to army, another helped to people, someone helped to support young people, to help animals. And there were different kinds of volunteering in Ukraine, and you just can do what you can do the best. But since the full-scale invasion, here really amazing things happen. Even as I joke, like all the winter in every flat, they were making these candles, or they were sewing some things for soldiers. Even our old people, like grandmas, they were cooking something, and to give it to frontline, they were sewing warm socks in winter for soldiers, and that's really amazing. And really, it works to what volunteering activism do. It is rare. We just a second.
I have to say, you're speaking very eloquently, considering it's about 3 or 4 a.m. in Ukraine.
Yes, we provide the rear of our army, and this is a really great support for our defenders. And like they usually say, that we need you on our rear. Like we are fighting on the front line, and we need to have a strong rear to win. And as you know, we have such a strong volunteers that they can even buy anything. We have many jokes about this, like if you need something and there is a volunteer team, it can support you with this even next day. For example, if you need drones, Starlinks, and we have a strong volunteers which even bought satellite. And they can sometimes they do amazing things, like in one day they can collect like 1 million hryvnia in one day. And when you hear such things, you realize that we exactly will win, and we don't have another variant. And exactly, you just amazed of Ukrainians how many great things we can do due to our hard situation in economy, in everything. Like many people lost what they had during all this life, but anyway, they donate to army. And as you understand, these amazing things like buying drones, satellites, and other expensive things, they are made, usually they made by Ukrainians, by donations. And it's really amazing, and you feel proud of your people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's been some incredible fundraising. Often some of these big fundraising sorry, I've lost the ability to speak now. Here's me while it's 7 p.m. in New York. Some of these big fundraising effects really show the power of social media in some instances, right? When on social media fundraising, like you said, $1 million. What do you think, Nikita, and how do you think this current wave we're seeing now is comparing to kind of waves of volunteering and activism we saw after the Euromaidan and Orange Revolution?
I completely agreed with Katerina, and I have only one little addition. It's about the structure of Ukrainian society. I think it's my personal thought that we are really anarchic society, and if we have really high pressure now from Russia, yes, military pressure, economical pressure, cultural pressure, everything. So we become stronger and stronger, more stronger, more stronger, and on every beat we answer just next level of the power of the strong. It's about the possibility of Ukrainian people unite to unite to be united. Yes, to be united in the critical throughout our system.
So you see it in terms of Ukrainian, I think the sound wasn't super clear just at that bit. I think you referred to Ukrainian society as anarchic, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not completely anarchic, but the tradition of anarchism is really on, I think, yeah. And this micro communities, yes, with really strong horizontal relationships between each other. It's very important for Ukraine.
Could you talk about this a little bit more, Nikita, just briefly? Because I think for a lot of us who don't know very much about the sense anarchy, it has certain connotations, especially in the West. Could you explain a little bit more about what you mean by anarchic in the Ukrainian sense, in terms of more like horizontal and like grassroots, which is what
I think it's about our history, because the only one state in the history, anarchic state, the tried to establish it was in Ukraine during the how it's good in English, during the war against Russians in the beginning of 20th century. Yeah, there was some guy. His name is Nestor Makhno, yes, and he was practical anarchist who established some microstate, Gulay Poli, yes. So it's the one example in the history about anarchy.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page by what you mean when you're referring.
Yeah. And I think now we have, just because every this communities of volunteers, it's just people who respect each other and feel some type of relation with each other. So it's important. It's not about you must do it, but it's not about obligation. Yes, it's about spirit of just, I don't know how to describe it.
No, that was great. Thank you. Do we have any more questions from people in the room or online? Please don't be shy. Yeah, Jennifer?
I don't think they can hear me, so I'm gonna ask.
Okay. So you say it and I'll maybe repeat in case.
So, hi, thank you. This might be a little abstract, so if they're like, don't want to answer, that's totally fine. But I'm interested in the psychological experience of just like being in war and what that does to your sense of time. And it feels like time has sped up or slowed down. And also in terms of like imagining the future, are they more living like on a day-to-day basis now, or do they like take comfort in imagining the future of Ukraine?
I don't know. I'm going to repeat that. I don't know if you would have heard that very well, both of you. So Jennifer is a student here, a master's student here at the Harriman, and she's interested in your psychological experience of time during the war. She said it's quite an abstract question, so if this doesn't make sense, you don't have to answer it. But she's interested in how your perception of time has maybe been influenced by the last 400 and so days. Has it spread down? That's not a word. That's what I wrote. Has it sped up? Has it slowed down? Are you very much in the present, or is it important to you to think about the future and what that looks like for Ukraine? Either of you can.
Okay, I try to answer. This question about time is very interesting because, of course, the feeling of time is changing. For me personal, we have general time, like time of communities, yes, and time of society, and we have personal time. And if we talk about the second one, about my personal time, it was broke up in 2014, and I lost feeling a lot of things about life because of the shock of this war. It was really big trauma for me. But in 2022, I think I was more ready, yes, psychologically ready. I just started to do something from the beginning, because in 2014 it was like what's happening. I don't understand. Yes, I don't understand what's happening. It was really big shock, but now I was ready. So if we talk about time, it's my opinion. Yes, in the normal situation, time is like relief, like sculpture. It has some relief, but in the situation when you're in the war, and so long war with so difficult war, you get really tired. Yes, really tired, and you just lost this hedonistic feelings about life, because everything in your life, you see these big pictures of pain, of passion, yeah, of your country, your people, and you can get, it's banal, but you can get satisfaction. Yes, I mean in general, it's for me it's my feeling of time. Yes, it's time without any really bright moment, because that's why.
Thank you. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. I'm finished. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Nikita. Would you like to add anything, Katerina, about your experience of time and your feelings about the future?
Yes, sure, I can. I want to say that many of Ukrainians, I think like something like 900 or 90%, we have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And also I feel I have it too, because you cannot just stay calm, and you cannot just live like you lived in former life, because all your former life is destroyed. Everything what you loved, what you used to have, it's destroyed. Like, for example, we don't have our houses. My family don't have house, don't have our town, and we don't have even feeling, not only about future, we don't have feeling that I have a place where to return. Like, we are living in rented flats in another cities. We are far away from each other for now, and there is no anymore. There is no such simple. Such a simple kind of emotion, like I want to return home because I have this home. For now, we just want to return, but there is nowhere to come back. And that's why uh, that's why sure life changed much. And when you think about reliance, like you live like you don't have reliance anymore. You just live one day, today, just live at the moment. And that is why this is very hard to think and to know what will be in future. We just focused on how to stay alive, how to stand against all horrors which happen, and just to make our victory closer. You just don't think about your future. You understand that maybe it will not happen even.
That's something that must be really difficult to come to terms with, and especially over such a prolonged period of time. I could see you nodding your head there, Nikita, with some of the things that Katerina was saying, and thank you for sharing that, both of you. I'm going to go to a couple of questions that have come online, so people in the room just have a little think, and I'll come back to you shortly. So one question from Fawad Yared. I'm sorry if I just butchered your name. And who says, thank you both for sharing these difficult life experiences of continuing to volunteer to help others. My heart goes out to you and all the Ukrainians. If it's not too sensitive of a question, how does the media portrayal of the ongoing invasion compare to what you see on the ground?
Sorry, what was the question? Just a question. Can you?
Yeah. So how does the media portrayal of the ongoing invasion compare to what you see on the ground?
Okay, I understand. I don't know what you see in USA. I don't know your medias, but I don't know what your medias show, but we see some popular media, like we see what they publish, but not all for sure. And also now Bakhmut especially, it was very, very popular place for journalists from all over the world. It was like I joked, every part of Bakhmut is a photo zone where everyone should make a photo and everyone should come and make an interview or just shooting. And sure, the journalists were coming and they tried to show even not only landscape of the city, they wanted to show how people live. They were going down to undergrounds when it was impossible to walk on the streets. So mostly they show what happens, but sure they cannot show the real amount of victims. I mean, they cannot show like private stories, private experience and what really happens. And only when you are on the ground and you see every day, you can go close and you can go directly to the places and you can see by your own what's happening. So I don't know if I answered to your question, because in our Ukrainian media, I know what they publish, what they tell about, but it's a pity, but I don't know what you have in USA.
Yeah, that's understandable. Maybe you have something you would like to add, Nikita. Of course, you're a journalist and you've also been spending some time in Paris recently. So maybe you have some ideas about this question.
Yeah, I have. I read a lot of in English and American media, so I know the situation. I think the work of English-speaking journalists is brilliant. I mean, they really good conceptualize it things, yes. But this is like really rational. It's normal. It's normal because readers want to know facts, wants to know real clear situation. Yes, it's really like journalistic work. It's really good. But for us, it's not. And for Ukrainian journalists, for example, it's not about work. It's an existential question. Yes, and all of these actions, all of these shootings and everything is a part of our ordinary life. So we can't write about it with so high level of coldness, yes, so high level of instrumentalized with reality. And I think maybe Luke Mogelson, if you know, from New Yorker, his war report from the front line from Bakhmut is maybe better reading because it's with high level of emotional feelings about it from the ordinary soldiers and from the ordinary participants of this battle. So yeah.
It sounds like the journalists who are not Ukrainian compared to Ukrainian journalists are in very different emotional states in covering
yeah, of course. For foreign journalists, I know a lot. I worked with some of them. For them, it's just about work. It's dangerous work, yes. But it's work. It maybe even interesting. Yes, it's interesting situation in which you can see some unique things about humans, about everything. But for us, it's just our life, and it's completely another type of vision, another type of point of view on the situation. It's really big shock, and maybe it even paralyzes yourself, like writer or like journalist, because you can't write about things so close to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions in the room? Because I have some more online. Does anybody here want to ask a question? No? Cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm Josh's guest. My question is, you guys have told us so much about your story and your experiences. And I'm sure all of us will go and share this, what we heard from you guys. What is the thing you would want us to take and to tell people? What is something you want people to know about your experience, about the work that you're doing? Just kind of like one nice phrase or something.
Did you both hear that, or would you like me to repeat?
The last two sentences.
Okay. So Sophia, yes. Sophia, thanks you very much for sharing your story and experiences. And she's saying, if people take away like one thing about your experiences and your knowledge, what would you like that to be? Like, what would your main message be to the people you're speaking to today? Is that right, Sophia? Okay.
As for me, as I usually say to everyone, like for now, the way to win, it's just to do anything you can do. And you should fight on your own front line. And this is the main, what will not only make our country win, it is also what gives power. For example, for me, volunteering helps me much to stand against PTSD, to stand against distress, and it really gives me power. When I give my power, my energy, my time, my emotions, but I receive more.
That's really powerful. Thank you, Katerina. Would you like to respond to that, Nikita?
Yeah. I have little answer about it. For me, really important. My lessons is about political activity because in my years I wasn't active in politics. I didn't to take part in politics, and I thought it's not important. But now when I see all these processes here in our country and in Russia, in Belarus, I understand, and I see all these brilliant people, yes, who were active participants of political processes in Ukraine, and I understand that freedom is in Ukraine, yes, and democracy in Ukraine is about their work, yes, about their energy, about their life. So for me, most important, it's the most important thing to be active in politics.
To be engaged and active.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any more questions in the room? Because I have a couple more online. Okay, we have about 15 minutes or so left. So I'm going to ask a question from online. This is from, and this is kind of in a similar vein, I think it follows and well. This is from Christina who's watching us on YouTube, and she thanks you both. And she says, what would be the top 3 most useful things that you think non-Ukrainians can do to help? So top 3 things you would like non-Ukrainians to do.
I think it's about weapons. We need weapons, we need resources, we need money.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you were a bit muffled then, Nikita. What was the first word? The first word?
Weapons.
Weapons. Oh, weapons.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, of course.
Important word.
Yeah, it's okay. It's about resources. Yes, of course. Now we need it so much, and we need this all of these dangerous things just for killing. Yes, it may be a bit shock for Western people in the world, in the peace and everything, but it's the most important thing now because it's the one thing that's works.
Yeah, so weapons, I guess we can't personally give you weapons, but it would be like advocating to our political leaders to support Ukraine with weapons, and then also supporting with funds and the like. Katerina, do you want to add anything to that? What would be the top 3 things you think that non-Ukrainians could do to help?
I can repeat what Nikita said, because when someone from abroad asks me, what do you need from me, or how can I help you, what can we do for you, I just always say, send us Patriots or F-16, something like this. No, sure, it's joke, but what people can do, at least sharing all information about those cruelty which Russia do here, and it will support politics send their heavy weapons and to isolate Russia, and all these things will help us to stay alive, to fight for our freedom, and our spirit is strong, that's for sure. But without help and without support, we cannot stand. And as I say sometimes to the audience, be here during our storm, and we will shine rays of light on you when our sun rises. And our sun will rise, that's for sure.
That's a very strong message. I think this is something that is quite interesting, and I'll just pick up on this briefly. Is traditionally in the humanitarian sector, there's a separation between like humanitarian aid for civilians and military support, and humanitarian organizations traditionally wouldn't engage in the military support, but what I see from people I speak to in Ukraine is this is all part of the same battle, right? If Ukraine is well equipped and can push Russia out, then Katerina, you're not going to need to go and rescue animals from occupied territories anymore. Nikita, you and your colleagues are not going to need to run a field hospital anymore. So it's all part of the same effort, right? Do we have any more questions in the room? Yeah, Julia.
I wanted to ask Nikita just about the field hospital thing in particular. I did a report a little while ago about field hospitals during the Euromaidan. And I remember an issue popping up was, you had a lot of people who wanted to crowdfund the hospitals, but it was, hard given censorship and things like that to actually get the money where it needed to go. I was just curious, how has the crowdfunding thing been going, and is there any way, any of us here can, individually pitch in to support these kinds of efforts?
I don't know if you heard that super clearly, Nikita. Do you want me to repeat?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat. Sorry, I have the microphone. I wield the power in this room, apparently. Juliet, who's a student here at Columbia, would like to know a bit more about your experiences with the field hospital, Nikita. Specifically, so Juliet has done a little bit of research on field hospitals during the Euromaidan, and she knows that there were some challenges with crowdfunding to do with censorship and different processes at the time. How has crowdfunding and fundraising for the field hospital been going since the full-scale invasion? And are there any ways that individuals can contribute to your efforts?
Yes, of course. We have website of the hospital, and we have bank account here. And every person can just donate to us. But my personal experience was organized exhibition of my friend Oles Kuzmenko in Britain, and all of payment of his work we just gave to the hospital. So it works in a lot of ways. You just can send some donuts. Just we have this PayPal, yes, a lot of the systems. It works, and it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there is some big organizations, yes, who work with us, but I don't know the specific of this work, because I'm not working with really big partners. Yes, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of people were really encouraging, if you wanted to support Ukraine, or you still want to support Ukraine, hopefully, if you can, it's best to donate to smaller grassroots organizations, because you folks have figured out ways to get the money and ways to act very quickly. So if anyone, sorry, just quickly, I'll say, so if anyone is interested in finding out more or supporting some of the organizations we talked about today, if you're in the room, I have QR codes and thingies. If you're online, then hopefully you can see in the chat, I've put the links there. Sorry, did you want to add something, Nikita?
I just want to add that the most powerful volunteer organization in Ukraine, Posmishka, Chernova.
Come Back Alive, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma. It's if you don't know what organization to support, just send to this organization, because it's really powerful. Mm-hmm. It's about general things, the most general things in this world.
Mm. Yeah, I think Come Back Alive has done a very good job of raising its profile in Western countries, and I know they've attracted a lot of support, which is great because of course they started small and they've been operating a long time and they've had to scale up like I think a lot of Ukrainian organizations have. Do we have any more questions from the room? This is starting to be your last chance. Okay, I'll go from another question online. This question is regarding Eastern Ukraine. And this person says, was there any period of relative peacefulness between the invasions in 2014 and 2022? And if so, what was the spirit of the people? Was there any sense that peace was permanent? So about the situation between the two invasions.
Mm-hmm. I think I can answer this question because we lived in the middle of all events, and Ukraine was like like a hub where military comes, where volunteering was coming, and I can say that the peaceful agreement since February of 2015 they were on the paper. But in fact, shelling and explosions didn't stop during all this time. It just were moving from the front line. There was a front line of between occupied territories, temporary occupied territories, and Ukrainian government-controlled territory. And during all this period, there were shelling, fighting. Sure, it was not defined, definitely not like now, but there were injured, there were dead people, like military and civilians also. So we didn't live totally in silence and totally in calm. Only when actually we knew that there will be invasion, and we were sure that this invasion will begin from East Ukraine. We didn't expect that such regions like Kyiv, Kharkiv, and finally all over Ukraine will be under shelling and will be under what happened finally. So we knew that this war will not just stop. Like they occupied part of Lugansk and Donetsk Oblast, and this will stop. We knew that one day there will be something. We didn't know exactly what can it be. Sure, we didn't even expect that there will be a total war.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think for a lot of people elsewhere in the world, and even people in some parts of Ukraine, I think the ongoing war in the Donbass region seemed very far from our minds for quite a long time, unless we felt some kind of personal connection to Ukraine. And then all of a sudden, with 2022, people started calling it the Russian invasion. But those of you who were close, you know that it wasn't really the beginning; it was a continuation. Do we have any more questions? Okay. So we're coming towards the end now. So I just wonder, Nikita and Katerina, if there is anything you would like to share with the audience, maybe any final thoughts or a message you would like to share before we say goodbye and we let you go to sleep.
I'm just grateful for your attention. I just want to say thank you for invitation, firstly, for your questions, for your interest, and for your wish to help Ukraine. We appreciate this much, and this really helps us to stand, and this gives us power. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nikita, do you want?
Yes. I would like to also thank you, Emma, to thank you everyone for going to this event. And I would like to say just that this war, this struggle, is not only about states, yes, not only about Ukraine and Russia and just a local part of the world. It's about the key concept of the Western world, of the, I think, of the world in global, about democracy, about freedom, about life, and about death, because now Russia in the death cult situation, yes. So it's not only important that Ukrainians have to win this war. It's necessary just for living this, the wall of this world, you know. It's really important thing. Maybe it's the most important thing in the world now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Thank
see
you.
it's necessary for supporting freedom and democracy. And I share those thoughts with you. Thank you so much, both of you. We really so very much appreciate your time. I think a lot of us have been very appreciative and very moved by some of the things you shared today. Our thoughts are with Anna once again, who couldn't join us today. But we thank you both. Thank you to people who are joining us online. And we wish you all the best of luck. And we wish you victory, of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you. Yeah, I should have said Slava Ukraini. There we go. Thank you so much, folks who are here. Yeah, I'm still on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still on. Okay. Nikita and Katya, thank you. Feel free to leave and go to bed, and I will write to you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.